The ketchup bottle exploded across the front of Maya's uniform at exactly 2:47 p.m., which meant she had 13 minutes to clean up, clock out, and sprint 6 blocks to pick up her daughter before the after-school program started charging late fees she couldn't afford. "I am so sorry." The businessman didn't look sorry. He looked annoyed, like Maya had personally chosen to walk into his gesturing hand. "Just here." He threw a $5 bill on the table like it was a tip instead of an apology, and went back to his phone call. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Maya grabbed napkins from the dispenser, dabbing uselessly at the red stain spreading across her white shirt. The cheap polyester soaked it up like a sponge. Perfect. Just perfect. She had one clean uniform left, and it was sitting in a laundromat 3 blocks from her apartment because she'd run out of quarters halfway through the wash cycle yesterday. "Table 6 needs waters," Dennis barked from behind the counter. Her manager had the emotional range of a parking meter and about as much sympathy. "And booth 2 says their fries are cold. I'm off in 10 minutes. You're off when I say you're off. We're short-staffed." "We're always short-staffed," Maya wanted to scream. "Because you pay minimum wage and schedule people for 39 hours so you don't have to give benefits." But she swallowed the words, grabbed a water pitcher, and headed to table 6. She needed this job. Hated it, but needed it. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She checked it while pouring water, already knowing what it would say. Reminder: rent due in 3 days. Current balance: $1,247.82. Amount owed: $1,400. Maya's chest tightened. She had 3 shifts left before rent was due. Even with tips, she'd be short by at least $100. Maybe Mrs. Chen would give her an extension. Maybe the landlord would accept a partial payment. Maybe the universe would stop punishing her for the crime of existing. She delivered the waters, remade the fries, smiled until her face hurt, and finally clocked out at 17 minutes late. The October wind cut through her thin jacket as she ran. Chicago in autumn was beautiful and brutal, all golden leaves and wind that felt like ice. Her sneakers slapped against cracked pavement, dodging pedestrians and street vendors. Her lungs burned. The ketchup on her shirt had dried into a stiff, sticky patch that rubbed against her skin with every step. She made it to Sunshine Elementary at 3:19. The after-school program director, a kind woman named Angela, looked up from her clipboard with sympathy in her eyes. "Maya, honey, that's the 3rd time this week." "I know. I'm sorry. My shift ran over and I can't keep letting it slide. The late fee is there for a reason. $5 per 15 minutes. Angela's voice was gentle but firm. "That's $10 today. $10. 2 hours of work before taxes." Maya pulled crumpled bills from her pocket, counting out what she had. "I only have 7 on me. Can I bring the rest tomorrow?" "You still owe from Tuesday." Maya closed her eyes. "How much total?" $23. She wanted to cry, wanted to scream, wanted to wake up in a different life where $10 didn't feel like a catastrophe. Instead, she smiled. "I'll have it Friday. I promise." Angela nodded, making a note. "Lily's in the reading corner." Maya found her daughter exactly where Angela said, curled up with a picture book, her dark curls falling across her face. Lily looked up, and her entire expression transformed into pure joy. "Mommy!" The word hit Maya's heart like it always did. Like a reminder of why she ran herself ragged, why she worked doubles, why she kept going when everything felt impossible. She scooped Lily into her arms, breathing in the scent of crayons and strawberry shampoo. "Hey baby, good day at school? We learned about butterflies. Did you know they taste with their feet?" "I did not know that." Maya set her down, taking her small hand. "That's amazing. Tell me more on the way home." They walked through the neighborhood together, Lily chattering about butterflies and her friend Emma and how the cafeteria had pizza today. Maya listened, making encouraging sounds, while her mind calculated and recalculated the numbers that never added up. Rent, $1,400. Current savings, $1,247. Owed to after school, $23. Electricity bill, $89. Phone bill, $67. Groceries, nearly gone. Her bank account, $127 after this week's paycheck, which meant she'd be $152 short on rent, And that was only if nothing else went wrong. Something always went wrong. The park appeared on their right, a small patch of green wedged between apartment buildings. It had seen better days. The swings were rusty, the slide had a dent in it, and the sandbox probably violated several health codes, but it was free, and Lily loved it. "Can we play, please? Just for 10 minutes? Maya checked her phone. 3:47. She should say no. Should take Lily straight home, start dinner with whatever was left in the fridge, maybe apply to a few more jobs online. But Lily's hopeful face, those wide brown eyes so much like her father's. 10 minutes, Maya said. Then we have to go home. Lily squealed and ran toward the swings. Maya followed more slowly, her feet aching in shoes that needed replacing 3 months ago. She sat on a bench, watching Lily pump her legs, trying to get higher. The park was mostly empty. A few other kids, a couple of nannies on their phones, an elderly man feeding pigeons, and a boy. He sat alone by the sandbox, maybe 6 or 7 years old, with dark hair and olive skin. He wore expensive clothes, she could tell even from a distance. Designer jacket, pristine sneakers that probably cost more than her monthly grocery budget. He was digging in the sand with a small shovel, focused and solitary. No parent nearby, no nanny, nobody watching. Maya frowned, scanning the park. Chicago wasn't a safe city. Leaving a child alone, even in daylight, even in a neighborhood like this, it was asking for trouble. She was about to stand, to maybe ask the kid where his parent was, when Lily called out, "Mommy, watch this!" Maya turned just in time to see Lily attempt to jump off the swing mid-arc. Her heart leaped into her throat. "Lily, no." But Lily was already flying, landing hard on her hands and knees in the wood chips. For a terrible second, there was silence. Then Lily's face crumpled, and she started to cry. Maya ran. She knelt beside her daughter, checking for injuries with practiced efficiency. Scraped palms, scraped knees, no blood, nothing broken, just scared and hurt, and 5 years old. "You're okay, baby, you're okay." Maya pulled her into a hug, rocking slightly. "That was scary, huh?" Lily nodded against her shoulder, hiccuping through tears. "I wanted to fly like a butterfly." "I know, sweetheart, but butterflies are very good at landing. We need more practice." Maya kissed her forehead, then checked her palms again. "Let's get you cleaned up at home, okay?" She was helping Lily stand when she heard it. A choking sound. Not crying. Not coughing. The desperate, silent struggle of someone who couldn't breathe. Maya's head snapped toward the noise. The boy from the sandbox was standing now, his hands at his throat, his face turning red. His mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. His eyes were wide with terror. Maya didn't think. Her body moved on instinct, on the CPR training she'd taken when Lily was born, on every maternal instinct that screamed that a child was in danger. She ran. The boy stumbled backward as she reached him. He was choking, really choking, his lips already taking on a blue tinge. Maya dropped to her knees behind him, wrapping her, arms around his small torso. "I've got you," she said, her voice calm despite her racing heart. "I've got you, honey. Just hold on." She positioned her hands, one fist just above his navel, the other wrapped around it, 5 quick upward thrusts. Nothing. The boy's struggles were getting weaker. "Come on," Maya muttered. "Come on, baby. Help me out here." 5 more thrusts, harder this time. A piece of hard candy shot out of his mouth and landed in the sand. The boy gasped, sucking in air with a horrible wheezing sound that was the most beautiful thing Maya had ever heard. He collapsed against her, coughing and crying. Maya held him, one hand rubbing his back, the other checking his pulse. Fast but steady. He was breathing. He was okay. "You're okay," she said softly. "You're safe now. Keep breathing. Just like that." "Mommy, is he okay?" Lily's voice was small and scared. "He's fine, baby. He just had something stuck in his throat, but he's fine now." Maya kept her voice gentle, soothing. Even as adrenaline crashed through her system, her hands were shaking. The boy pulled back slightly, looking up at her with dark eyes that swam with tears. He looked so young, so scared. "I couldn't breathe," he whispered. "I know. That must have been really scary. But you're breathing now. Nice and easy." If you're hooked on this story, Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya smiled at him, brushing dirt off his expensive jacket. What's your name, sweetheart? Marco. His voice was raspy. Marco Valentini. Hi, Marco. I'm Maya. Where's your mom or dad? Marco's face crumpled. Papa said to wait here. He was on the phone. He told me not to move, but I got hungry, and I had candy in my pocket. Fresh tears spilled over. He's going to be so mad. Hey, no one's mad. Maya cupped his face gently. Accidents happen, okay? You didn't do anything wrong. Where did you last see your dad? Marco pointed toward the street. By the black car, but he's not there anymore. Maya stood, scanning the area. No frantic parent. No black car. Just the usual park traffic. Okay, we'll find him. Don't worry. She pulled out her phone. Do you know your dad's phone number? Marco recited it carefully. Still hiccuping slightly, Maya dialed, her other hand resting protectively on his shoulder. The phone rang once. Twice. 3 times. Then a voice answered, deep and sharp with barely controlled panic. Who is this? Hi, my name is Maya Torres. I'm at Patterson Park with your son. There was an incident. Where is he? Is he hurt? Let me talk to him right now. The man's accent was slight but noticeable. Italian, maybe. His tone was pure authority mixed with terror. He's okay. He choked on a piece of candy, but I was able to help him. He's breathing fine now, but you should probably take him to get checked out. I'm 2 minutes away. Don't move. Don't let anyone near him. I'm almost there. The line went dead. Maya looked down at Marco, who was clinging to her hand like a lifeline. Your dad's coming, okay? He'll be here really soon. Is he mad? I think he's probably just worried about you. Maya knelt again, bringing herself to his eye level. Can I ask you something? Why were you here alone? Marco's lip trembled. Papa was doing business. He told me to wait by the car and not talk to anyone. But I saw the sandbox, and I really wanted to play, and he was on his phone forever. The boy's eyes filled with guilt. I'm not supposed to go anywhere without him or Uncle Luca or the guards. Guards. The word sent a small chill down Maya's spine. What kind of father needed guards? What kind of business required that level of security? Before she could process that, a black SUV screeched to a stop at the curb. 2 men in dark suits emerged first, scanning the park with the trained precision of military or security. Then the back door opened, and a man stepped out. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair swept back from a face that looked like it had been carved from marble, sharp, jawline, high cheekbones, expensive suit that probably cost more than Maya's rent. But it was his eyes that caught her, dark, intense, and currently blazing with fear and rage. Marco. The man's voice cracked slightly. Papa! Marco released Maya's hand and ran. The man dropped to his knees, catching his son in a fierce embrace that spoke of love and terror in equal measure. He ran his hands over Marco's face, his arms, checking for injuries. You're okay? You're breathing? What happened? The questions tumbled out rapid fire. Who told you could leave the car? Do you have any idea? His voice broke. Dio, Marco, you scared me. I'm sorry, Papa. I'm sorry. I just wanted to play, and then I was eating candy, and it got stuck, and I couldn't breathe. And Marco was crying again. The man pulled him closer, his eyes closing briefly. When he opened them, they locked on Maya. She was still kneeling in the sand, suddenly very aware of the ketchup stain on her uniform, the dirt on her knees, the way she must look to this man in his $1,000 suit. Lily had moved to stand beside her, one small hand on Maya's shoulder. The man stood slowly, lifting Marco with him. He approached Maya with measured steps, and she found herself standing too, instinctively putting herself between him and Lily. You saved my son. It wasn't a question. His voice was carefully controlled now, but she could hear the emotion underneath. I helped him, yes. He was choking on candy. I did the Heimlich maneuver. He should probably still see a doctor, just to make sure. You were here alone, with your daughter? His eyes flicked to Lily, then back to Maya. You didn't call for help first. You just acted. He couldn't breathe. There wasn't time to wait for help. Maya crossed her arms, suddenly defensive. Look, he's fine. I'm glad I could help. You should probably keep a closer eye on him in the future. Something flickered in the man's expression. Not anger. Something sharper. You're right. This was my fault. I was distracted. I thought he was safe in the car. He looked down at Marco, who was pressed against his chest. I thought wrong. One of the suited men approached, speaking quietly in Italian. The man Marco's father responded in the same language, his tone clipped and authoritative. Then he turned back to Maya. I need your name, your contact information. Maya hesitated. Why? Because I want to thank you properly. Because my son's life has value, and you saved it without hesitation. He pulled out his phone. Please. Something about the intensity of his gaze made it hard to refuse. Maya recited her phone number, watching him enter it with one hand while holding Marco with the other. Maya Torres, he said, testing her name. I'm Alessandro Valentini. I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. You don't owe me anything. I'm just glad Marco's okay. Maya took Lily's hand. We should go. It's getting late. Wait. Alessandro's voice stopped her. He was looking at her uniform, at the ketchup stain, at her worn sneakers and threadbare jacket. His expression was unreadable. You work at, where? The Liberty Diner on 5th Street. But I really need to get my daughter home. Of course, I won't keep you. He paused. Thank you, Maya Torres. Truly. Maya nodded and turned away, pulling Lily with her. She could feel Alessandro's eyes on her back as she walked, could sense the weight of his attention like a physical thing. Mummy, you were so brave, Lily whispered as they left the park. You saved that boy. I did what anyone would do, baby. But even as she said it, Maya knew it wasn't quite true. The park had been full of people, and she'd been the only one to move. She'd been the only one to act. They walked home in the fading light, Maya's mind spinning. Alessandro Valentini. Guards, expensive clothes and cars, that accent, that authority. She pushed the thoughts away. It didn't matter. She'd never see him again. He was clearly wealthy, clearly from a different world. Their lives had intersected for 5 minutes, and now they'd diverged back to their separate orbits. By the time they reached their apartment building, a tired 3-story walk-up with peeling paint and a broken intercom, Maya had almost convinced herself that the encounter meant nothing. She made dinner from what they had, pasta with butter and the last of the Parmesan cheese. Lily chattered about Marco, about how scary it was when he couldn't breathe, about how Maya was a hero like the princesses in her books. I'm not a hero, sweetheart. I just helped someone who needed it. That's what heroes do, Mommy. Maya smiled, tucking Lily into bed an hour later. She read 2 chapters of their current library book, then sang the lullaby her own mother used to sing. When Lily's breathing deepened into sleep, Maya allowed herself to sink onto the second-hand couch in their tiny living room. The apartment was quiet except for the sound of their elderly neighbor's television through the thin walls. Maya pulled up her banking app, staring at the numbers that hadn't magically improved. $127. Rent due in 3 days. She was so tired. Tired of scraping by. Tired of counting pennies. Tired of the constant low-grade panic that one unexpected expense would destroy them. She'd been 22 when she got pregnant, 23 when Lily was born. And Lily's father, she didn't let herself think about him. Some wounds stayed closed only if you refused to touch them. Maya was scrolling through job listings she'd seen a dozen times before when her phone rang. Unknown number, probably a scam. She almost didn't answer. Hello? Miss Torres? This is Alessandro Valentini. Maya sat up straight, her heart suddenly hammering. Mr. Valentini, is Marco okay? He's fine. The doctor confirmed no damage. Thanks to you. A pause. I'm calling because I'd like to meet with you tomorrow. To properly express my gratitude. That's really not necessary. Please. His voice was firm but not unkind. Allow me this. Lunch tomorrow? I can send a car to pick you up. I work lunch shifts. Dinner then. 7 o'clock. There's a restaurant called Giordano's near your apartment. Do you know it? Maya did know it. It was the kind of place she walked past and never imagined entering, with white tablecloths and prices that weren't listed on the menu. Mr. Valentini, I appreciate the thought, but I can't accept. You can bring your daughter. Please, Miss Torres, an hour of your time. That's all I'm asking. Something in his tone made her pause. Not demanding, but almost pleading. Like this mattered to him in a way she didn't quite understand. 1 hour, she heard herself say. But I'm paying for my own meal. We'll discuss that tomorrow. She could hear the smile in his voice. 7 o'clock. Thank you, Maya. He hung up before she could change her mind. Maya stared. At her phone, a strange mixture of anxiety and something else curling in her stomach. This was a mistake. Getting involved with someone like Alessandro Valentini, someone with guards and expensive suits, and that air of dangerous authority, it was asking for complications she didn't need. But the memory of Marco's terrified face, of Alessandro's fierce love when he'd held his son, of the way he'd looked at her like she'd done something miraculous instead of simply human. 1 dinner, 1 hour. Then they'd go back to their separate worlds, and this strange intersection would become just another memory. Maya set her phone down and tried to convince herself she believed it. Maya changed outfits 4 times before settling on the first thing she'd tried on, a simple black dress she'd bought at a thrift store 2 years ago for a funeral. It was the nicest thing she owned that still fit, even if the hem was starting to fray and there was a small stain on the side she'd tried to hide with a strategically placed belt. Lily sat on the bed, watching with the solemn attention of a 5-year-old fashion critic. You look pretty, Mommy. Thank you, baby. Maya checked her reflection 1 more time, trying to tame her curls into something presentable. Remember, we're just having dinner with Marco and his dad to say you're welcome. Then we come home, okay? Is Marco's dad a prince? Maya paused mid-lipstick application. What? No, honey. Why would you think that? Because he had guards like in my princess books. And his car was really fancy. And you're nervous, like Cinderella going to the ball. I'm not nervous. Maya was absolutely nervous. I just want to look nice. That's normal. Uh-huh. Lily's tone suggested she knew better. They left the apartment at 6:45, walking the 3 blocks to Giordano's. The October evening had turned cold, and Maya wished she'd worn something warmer than her thin cardigan. But it was the only thing that went with the dress, and pride wouldn't let her show up in her winter coat with the broken zipper. Giordano's glowed like a jewel box in the darkening street. Through the windows, Maya could see chandeliers, white linen, crystal glasses catching candlelight. Her stomach twisted with anxiety. This was a mistake. She didn't belong here. She should turn around, call Alessandro, make an excuse. Maya. She turned to find Alessandro standing beside a black town car, Marco at his side. Both wore suits, Alessandro's charcoal gray and perfectly tailored, Marco's a miniature version that made him look adorable and slightly uncomfortable. Marco. Lily waved enthusiastically. Marco's serious expression broke into a smile. Hi, Papa said you were coming. Do you want to see the menu? They have desserts with names I can't pronounce. Alessandro stepped forward, his eyes moving over Maya in a way that made her suddenly self-conscious. You look lovely. Thank you. Maya smoothed her dress nervously. You didn't have to get so dressed up. I would have understood if this was just a casual. Nothing about today is casual. Alessandro's voice was warm but firm. Shall we? He offered his arm, and after a moment's hesitation, Maya took it. The inside of Giordano's was even more intimidating than the outside. A maitre d' greeted Alessandro by name, leading them through the crowded restaurant to a private corner booth. Other diners glanced up as they passed, their eyes lingering on Alessandro with a mixture of respect and something else. Fear? Recognition? Maya slid into the booth, Lily beside her. Alessandro sat across from them. Marco pressed close to his side like he was afraid to let his father out of reach. I ordered ahead, Alessandro said as a waiter appeared with sparkling water and juice for the children. I hope that's all right. If you have dietary restrictions, I don't, but you really didn't need to, Maya. He looked at her directly, his dark eyes intense. Please, let me do this. You saved my son's life yesterday. The least I can do is buy you dinner. The waiter returned before she could argue, carrying plates of antipasto, fresh bread, olive oil. Maya's mouth watered despite her nerves. She couldn't remember the last time she'd eaten at a restaurant, let alone one like this. Lily and Marco were already chattering, the children's earlier shyness forgotten. Marco was showing Lily something on his phone, a game involving dinosaurs that had her giggling. He's doing well? Maya asked quietly. No complications from yesterday? The doctor said he was fine. No damage to his throat or esophagus, thanks to your quick action. Alessandro's jaw tightened. if you hadn't been there. But I was. Maya reached across the table instinctively, touching his hand. He's okay. That's what matters. Alessandro stared at her hand on his, something unreadable crossing his face. Maya pulled back quickly, heat rising to her cheeks. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Don't apologize. His voice was rough. You have nothing to apologize for, ever. The dinner arrived in courses that kept coming: pasta, carbonara, osso buco, roasted vegetables that probably cost more per plate than Maya spent on groceries in a week. She tried to eat slowly, to savor it, but she was also painfully aware of Alessandro watching her. Tell me about yourself, he said between courses. You work at the Liberty Diner? For the past year and a half. Before that, I was at a coffee shop, but they cut hours. Maya took a sip of water. I'm also taking online classes, business administration. It's slow going, but I'm hoping to finish my degree eventually. No family in Chicago? My mom died when I was 19. Car accident. No other family. Maya glanced at Lily, who was absorbed in her conversation with Marco. It's just us. Lily's father? The question was casual, but Maya felt the weight behind it. Not in the picture. His choice, not mine. She met Alessandro's eyes. What about you? Marco's mother? Pain flickered across his face. There, and gone in a heartbeat. She died when Marco was 3. Illness. It was quick. I'm sorry. So am I. Alessandro's hand curled into a fist on the table. Every day, they sat in silence for a moment, 2 single parents carrying their separate griefs. Maya felt a strange kinship with this man she barely knew. This dangerous stranger with sad eyes and fierce love for his son. Papa, can Lily come over sometime? Marco asked suddenly. To play? We have a game room, and she's never seen my dinosaur collection. Alessandro's expression shifted, became cautious. Marco, I'm sure Lily and her mother are very busy. Actually, Maya found herself saying, Lily would love that. If it's not too much trouble. Why was she saying this? Why was she extending an encounter that should end tonight? Alessandro studied her, and Maya had the unsettling feeling he could see right through. Her, the financial desperation, the loneliness, the part of her that wanted something, anything, to be different. Saturday afternoon, he said finally. I'll send a car at noon. We can take the bus. I'll send a car. Not a suggestion, a statement. Dessert arrived: tiramisu that melted on Maya's tongue like a prayer. Lily declared it the best thing she'd ever eaten, and Marco solemnly agreed. The children finished first, and Alessandro suggested they look at the aquarium in the restaurant's lobby. Luca will watch them, Alessandro said, gesturing to one of the men in suits who'd materialized near their table. We can talk. Once the children were out of earshot, Alessandro leaned forward. I need to be honest with you about something, Maya. Her stomach tightened. Okay. My business. It's complicated. There are people who would use anyone close to me as leverage. That's why Marco has guards. Why I keep my personal life very private. He paused. Yesterday, at the park, you were seen helping Marco. That means you're now on certain people's radar. Maya's mouth went dry. What kind of business are you in? Import and export. Logistics. Consulting. The words were smooth, practiced. But I've made enemies over the years. People who would hurt a child to hurt me. Are you saying I'm in danger? That Lily's in danger because I helped your son? I'm saying I need to be careful. We need to be careful. Alessandro's expression was deadly serious. I've already arranged for security to patrol your neighborhood, discreetly. You won't see them, but they'll be there. You can't just... I already did. His voice softened. Maya, please. I know this sounds extreme. I know it probably frightens you. But I can't take chances with Marco's safety, and that extends to anyone who helps him. Anyone he cares about. Maya's mind raced. Guards, enemies. This was insane. This was way beyond a simple thank you dinner. Mr. Valentini. Alessandro, please. Alessandro. She took a breath. I appreciate your concern, but I don't need protection. Lily and I, we've been taking care of ourselves for 5 years. We'll be fine, will you? Alessandro pulled out his phone, showing her a photo. This man was in the park yesterday. He was watching when you helped Marco. His name is Viktor Kozlov, and he works for someone who would very much like to see me suffer. The photo showed a thin man with a shaved head, standing near the park entrance. Maya hadn't noticed him yesterday, she'd been too focused on Marco, but seeing him now sent ice through her veins. He knows where you work, Alessandro continued quietly. He knows where you live, he knows about Lily, and he knows you saved my son, which makes you valuable, either as leverage against me or as someone I might trust enough to let close. Maya felt sick. This is crazy. This is my life. Alessandro's voice was heavy. And I'm sorry you got pulled into it. But I can't change what happened. I can only try to keep you safe. By what? Assigning me bodyguards? Following me around? I have a life, Alessandro. A job. A daughter who goes to school. Maya's voice rose slightly. I can't just... She stopped as Lily and Marco returned, both chattering excitedly about the fish they'd seen. Alessandro's expression smoothed instantly, becoming warm and approachable, but Maya could still see the tension in his shoulders, the way his eyes constantly scanned the restaurant. The rest of dinner passed in a blur. Maya smiled and nodded and let Lily enjoy her dessert, but her mind was spinning. What had she gotten them into? She'd saved a child, done the right thing, the human thing, and now some Russian criminal knew where she lived? When Alessandro offered to have his driver take them home, Maya wanted to refuse, wanted to grab Lily and run. But the thought of that man Victor watching their apartment made her mouth go dry. Okay, she said quietly. Thank you. The drive took less than 5 minutes in Alessandro's town car, but it felt like an eternity. Lily fell asleep against Maya's shoulder, exhausted from excitement and too much sugar. Alessandro sat across from them, Marco dozing against his side. I know this is overwhelming, Alessandro said as they pulled up to Maya's building. I know you didn't ask for any of this, but please let me help. Let me keep you safe while my people handle the situation. Handle it how? That's not something you need to worry about. Maya looked at him sharply. If it affects my daughter, it's absolutely something I need to worry about. Alessandro's expression shifted respect, maybe even approval. Fair enough. Victor works for a man who's been trying to move into my territory. Make me look weak. If he thinks you're someone I care about, he'll use that. My people will make it clear that approaching you would be unwise. And if that doesn't work, then I'll take more direct measures. The way he said it made Maya's blood run cold. She gathered Lily carefully, preparing to carry her inside. Alessandro reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Please. Take this. I'm not taking your money. It's not charity. It's compensation for the danger I've brought to your door. He pressed it into her hand. And it's non-negotiable. Maya wanted to throw it back at him. Wanted to tell him she didn't need his guilt money, his protection, his dangerous world bleeding into hers. But Lily was heavy in her arms, and rent was due in 2 days, and she was so tired of pretending she wasn't drowning. She took the envelope. Thank you for dinner, she said stiffly, and for being honest. But Alessandro, after Saturday, after Marco's playdate, I think it's better if we keep our distance. For everyone's sake. Something that looked like pain crossed his face. If that's what you want, it's what's smart. She carried Lily inside without looking back, feeling Alessandro's eyes on her until she disappeared into the building. Only once she was inside her apartment, door locked, Lily tucked into bed, did Maya open the envelope. $5,000 in neat $100 bills. Maya's hands shook as she counted it twice, 3 times. $5,000. More than 3 months' rent. Enough to catch up on every bill, buy Lily new shoes, fix the car's check engine light that had been on for 6 months. She should return it. Should march back downstairs and shove it in Alessandro's face and tell him she wasn't some charity case to be bought off. Instead, she sank onto the couch and cried from relief, from fear, from the overwhelming weight of owing someone like Alessandro Valentini anything at all. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number, but she knew who it was. The money isn't a loan. You don't owe me anything. Sleep well, Maya. My men will keep you safe. Amaya stared at the message for a long time. Then she looked at the cash spread. Across her coffee table, at the apartment that was finally, temporarily, not a source of constant panic. She typed back, "Thank you, but this doesn't change anything. After Saturday, we go back to our separate lives." His response came immediately. "If that's what you need, But Maya, you saved my son. That means something in my world. It means everything. Good night." Maya turned off her phone and sat in the darkness of her apartment, listening to the sounds of the city outside and wondering what she'd really saved Marco from and what she'd saved him into. The next 3 days passed in a strange fog. Maya paid her rent early for the first time in 2 years. She bought Lily new shoes and a warm winter coat. She stocked the fridge with actual groceries instead of whatever was on sale, and she tried very hard not to think about the fact that she was spending money from a man who had enemies with names like Viktor Kozlov. She didn't see any guards, but she felt them. A presence on the street, corner when she walked to work, a car that always seemed to be parked nearby. Once, when a drunk man got aggressive outside the diner, Dennis had to physically drag her inside, but the man had mysteriously disappeared by the time the police arrived, and Maya had seen a familiar black SUV driving away. Alessandro didn't call, didn't text beyond that one message. Maya told herself she was relieved. This was what she wanted: distance, safety, a return to normal. But she'd catch herself checking her phone, wondering if Marco was okay, if Alessandro had found Victor, if the danger was really over. Saturday arrived cold and gray, with the promise of Chicago's first snow in the air. Maya dressed Lily in her new coat, feeling guilty about how excited her daughter was. Lily had talked about nothing but seeing Marco's dinosaur collection all week, and Maya hadn't had the heart to explain that after today, they probably wouldn't see the Valentinis again. The town car arrived exactly at noon, driven by a different suited man who introduced himself as Dante. "Mr. Valentini is looking forward to seeing you both," he said with a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. The drive took 20 minutes, leaving the cramped neighborhoods Maya knew and entering areas she'd only seen in magazines. Tree-lined streets with perfect lawns, houses that looked like museums, and finally, gates that opened onto a private drive leading to a mansion that made Lily gasp. "Mommy, it's like a castle." It wasn't quite a castle, but it was close. 3 stories of honey-colored stone, with tall windows and balconies and grounds that seemed to stretch forever. Maya's chest tightened. This was Alessandro's world, wealth and power, and walls that kept ordinary people like her firmly outside. Marco was waiting at the front door, practically vibrating with excitement. Alessandro stood behind him, one hand on his son's shoulder, and when his eyes met Maya's, something passed between them that made her forget to breathe. "You came," Alessandro said, as if there'd been doubt. "I promised." Maya helped Lily out of the car, very aware of how shabby their clothes looked despite being the nicest things they owned. But Marco didn't seem to notice or care. He grabbed Lily's hand immediately. "Come on, my dinosaurs are in the playroom upstairs. I have a T-Rex that's this big." He spread his arms wide, nearly hitting Alessandro in the chest. "Careful, Cucciolo." Alessandro caught his son's hands, affection clear on his face. "Why don't you show Lily your collection while I talk to her mother?" "But Papa, 20 minutes. Then we'll all have lunch together." Marco considered this, then nodded. He and Lily disappeared into the house, their voices echoing in what sounded like a very large entryway. Alessandro gestured for Maya to follow him. They walked through rooms that belonged in architectural magazines, high ceilings, crown molding, furniture that was beautiful and probably centuries old. Maya tried not to gawk, tried to act like this was normal, but she couldn't help staring. "It's too much, isn't it?" Alessandro said quietly. "The house. My father bought it when he first made his fortune. I've thought about selling, finding something more reasonable for just Marco and me, but it was Elena's favorite place, his wife, the one who died." Maya heard the grief in his voice even 3 years later. They ended up in a library that smelled of leather and old books. Floor-to-ceiling shelves, a fireplace with a fire already crackling, windows overlooking gardens that had been put to bed for winter. Alessandro poured himself a drink from a crystal decanter, then seemed to remember his manners. "Would you like anything? Coffee? Tea? Something stronger?" "I'm fine." Maya stood awkwardly near the door, not sure if she should sit. "Alessandro, about the money. Did it help?" "That's not the point. Did it help?" he repeated, more gently. Maya sighed. "Yes, it helped. It helped a lot. But I can't keep accepting—" "You're not accepting anything. You earned it." Alessandro moved closer, his drink forgotten. "Maya, Do you know what it's like to watch your child stop breathing? To be completely helpless? No, she whispered. It's hell, pure hell. And you walked into that hell and pulled him out without even knowing who he was. Without knowing if there'd be any reward, any recognition, anything. His voice was rough with emotion. That kind of courage, that kind of instinctive goodness, it's rare. Especially in my world. What is your world, exactly? Maya found her courage. You said import-export. But we both know that's not the whole truth. The guards, the enemies, the money you can just hand out like it's nothing. What are you really, Alessandro? He was quiet for a long moment, studying her. Then he walked to his desk and pulled out a folder. My family has been in Chicago for 4 generations. My great-grandfather came from Stan, Sicily with nothing. He built a business, restaurants, construction, unions. Some of it was legitimate. Much of it wasn't. Maya's stomach sank as understanding dawned. You're Mafia. I prefer businessman with complicated legacy. Alessandro's smile was without humor. But yes, if you want the blunt truth, the Valentini family has ties to organized crime going back almost a century. My father expanded the empire, made us wealthy and powerful and feared. And you? I'm trying to change it. He opened the folder, showing her documents, business licenses, corporate filings, partnership agreements. For the past 5 years, since my father died and I took over, I've been transitioning everything legitimate. The restaurants are real now, not fronts. The construction company bids on legal contracts. The investments are above board. But the enemies are still there, Maya said. The danger is still real. Yes, Alessandro's jaw tightened. Because going legitimate means losing territory, losing income, appearing weak to people who only understand strength through violence. People like Victor's boss. They're circling, waiting for me to make a mistake they can exploit. Maya sank into a chair, her legs suddenly unsteady. And I became part of that mistake by helping Marco. You became someone I can't afford to let them hurt. Alessandro knelt in front of her chair, bringing himself to her eye level. Maya, I know this is insane. I know you didn't ask for any of this. But please, let me protect you, just until I can eliminate the threat. Eliminate? The word made her think of bullets, of bodies, of things she didn't want to imagine. Neutralize. Alessandro corrected, reading her expression. Make it unprofitable for them to target anyone connected to me. I'm not my father, Maya. I don't solve every problem with violence, but I will do whatever it takes to keep Marco safe. And now, whether you like it or not, that includes keeping you safe. Maya looked at him, this man with his tragic past and dangerous present, and the fierce love for his son written in every line of his face. She should run, should grab Lily, and never look back. But there was something about the way Alessandro looked at her, like she was important, like she mattered, like saving Marco had made her special instead of just lucky. How long? She asked. How long until it's safe? I don't know. Weeks maybe. A month. He took her hand carefully, like she might break. I won't keep you prisoner. You can work, see friends, live your life. But please, accept the protection. Let my men keep watch, and maybe, he hesitated, maybe spend time here sometimes. With Marco. He's been asking about Lily constantly. And you? The question escaped before Maya could stop it. Have you been thinking about us? Alessandro's eyes darkened. Every moment of every day, the admission hung between them, weighted with possibility and danger. Maya should say no, should establish boundaries. Should remember that she was a waitress with a 5-year-old and he was a reformed crime boss with enemies who used children as leverage. Instead, she said, Okay, we'll accept your protection. We'll visit sometimes, for the kids' sake. But Alessandro, she met his eyes. I need you to be honest with me. Always. About the danger, about what you're doing to stop it, about everything. I won't be kept in the dark about things that affect my daughter. I promise. He squeezed her hand. Complete honesty, even when it's ugly. They sat like that for a moment, hands joined. A bargain struck that Maya didn't fully understand yet. Then laughter echoed from upstairs, Lily's giggle and Marco's delighted shout, and they both smiled. Should we check on them? Maya asked. Probably. Marco has shown restraint for almost 20 minutes. That's a record. Alessandro stood, helping her up. but he didn't immediately release her hand. Maya, thank you for trusting me. I won't let you regret it. She wanted to believe him. Looking into his eyes, feeling the warmth of his hand, hearing the sincerity in his voice, she almost did believe him. They found the children in a playroom that looked like a toy store had exploded. Dinosaurs everywhere, but also building blocks, art supplies, books, games. Lily was carefully arranging plastic dinosaurs by size while Marco narrated an elaborate story about their prehistoric adventures. They're natural together, Alessandro observed quietly. Maya nodded, watching her daughter's face light up with joy. When was the last time Lily had looked this happy? When was the last time she'd had a friend, a playmate? Something beyond the struggle of their day-to-day survival. Lunch was served in a sun-filled breakfast room by a kind-faced woman Alessandro introduced as Rosa, his housekeeper. The food was simple but delicious. Sandwiches, fruit, homemade cookies that had both children declaring them the best ever. Rosa has been with the family since I was Marco's age, Alessandro said as the housekeeper smiled and refilled their glasses. She's seen everything, survived everyone, and somehow still tolerates me. Someone has to keep you in line, Signor, Rosa said with obvious affection. She looked at Maya with sharp, assessing eyes. It's good to see you again, miss. And to see someone making Alessandro smile for a change. Rosa, Alessandro warned, but he was smiling. After lunch, Alessandro suggested they walk the grounds. Marco needs to burn off energy, and the gardens are safe. Fenced, monitored, secure. It struck Maya how often he thought in terms of security, of threat assessment, of safety protocols. This was his normal, constant vigilance, always watching, never quite relaxed. They walked through gardens in their autumn rest, trees stripped bare against the gray sky. Marco and Lily ran ahead, chasing each other and laughing. Alessandro stayed close to Maya, his presence warm despite the cold. Tell me about Lily's father, he said suddenly, if that's not too personal. Maya was silent for a moment, organizing thoughts she usually kept buried. His name was Jason. We met in college, or I was in college. He was working construction. I got pregnant our senior year. I thought we'd figure it out together, get married, make it work. She laughed bitterly. He lasted until she was 6 months old. Then he said he wasn't ready to be a father, that it was all too much, and he left. Does he pay support? When he remembers to. Every few months, a check appears. Never the full amount he's supposed to pay, but something. I don't chase him for more. I don't want Lily to have a father who's there out of obligation instead of love. Alessandro was quiet, watching Marco play with Lily. Elena got sick when Marco was 2. Ovarian cancer. They gave her a year, but she fought for 18 months. His voice was steady but strained. She made me promise that I'd never let Marco think his mother didn't love him, that I'd tell him stories about her, keep her memory alive, make sure he knew she fought to stay with us. You're a good father, Maya said softly. I'm trying, but it's hard doing it alone. Making every decision, being everything he needs, never having anyone to share the burden or the joy or just the simple moment of watching him sleep. Alessandro looked at her. You understand that. Every single day, they stood together in the cold afternoon, 2 single parents carrying the weight of worlds they hadn't chosen. And Maya felt something shift, a recognition, a connection, a sense that maybe, despite everything that separated them, they weren't quite so alone anymore. Mama, Papa, look! Marco pointed at the sky where the first snowflakes had started to fall. Lily tilted her head back, catching snowflakes on her tongue. It's snowing! It's really snowing! The children's delight was infectious. Maya found herself smiling, really smiling, as the snow fell faster. Alessandro watched her, and when she glanced over, the expression on his face stole her breath. He looked at her like she was precious, like she mattered, like saving his son had been the beginning of something instead of the end. Stay for dinner, he said. Please, let the kids play. Let yourself rest. Just for a few hours. Let me give you something that isn't danger or fear. Maya knew she should say no. Knew that every moment here made it harder to maintain the distance she needed. But the snow was falling, and Lily was laughing, and Alessandro was looking at her like she was something wonderful. Okay, she whispered. We'll stay. His smile was like sunrise, slow, warm, transforming everything it touched. Good. That's good. They walked back to the house through falling snow, children running ahead, and Maya tried not to think about how natural it felt, how right, how much like a family they looked from the outside. Tried and failed. Because the truth was dangerous and complicated, she was starting to care about Alessandro Valentini, starting to imagine what it might be like to have someone strong and capable sharing the burden, starting to hope for something she had no business hoping for. And that, she realized as they entered the warm house, might be more dangerous than Viktor Kozlov or any enemy Alessandro had ever made. The weeks that followed fell into a rhythm Maya hadn't expected and couldn't quite resist. Tuesdays and Thursdays became their days at the mansion. Alessandro would send Dante to pick them up after Maya's morning shift, and they'd spend the afternoon with Marco. The children would play while Maya and Alessandro talked about everything and nothing, about their pasts and their hopes, about the careful dance of single parenting and the weight of responsibilities they carried. Alessandro never pushed, never made her feel obligated, but slowly, carefully, he wove himself into the fabric of their lives. He had Rosa teach Lily how to make pasta from scratch. He bought dinosaur books for both children and read to them in Italian, translating as he went. He fixed the leak under Maya's kitchen sink without being asked, somehow knowing it had been dripping for months. He showed up at the diner once with Marco, sat in Maya's section, and left a tip that made Dennis's eyes nearly pop out of his head. "That man is interested in more than your waitressing skills," Dennis said after Alessandro left, counting the $100 bill like it might disappear. "We're just friends. His son and my daughter play together." "Uh-huh. And I'm just a humble restaurant manager, not someone counting down the days until I can retire to Florida." Dennis handed her the bill. "Be careful, Maya. Men like that don't do anything without a reason." Maya knew Dennis was right. She knew Alessandro's attention came with complications she didn't fully understand. But when he looked at her, across the dinner table, when he listened to her talk about her online classes like they mattered, when he called late at night just to ask if she was okay, it was hard to remember why she should be careful. The protection Alessandro had promised was invisible but constant. Maya never saw the guards, but she felt their presence. The drunk who used to harass her on her walk home disappeared. The aggressive panhandler who'd made Lily cry moved to a different corner. Her car, which had been on its last legs, was mysteriously repaired one morning, and when she confronted Alessandro, he'd simply said, "Rosa's nephew owns a garage. He owed me a favor." 3 weeks after that first dinner, Maya's landlord called with unexpected news. "Miss Torres, I'm calling about your rent." Maya's stomach dropped. She'd paid on time early even, thanks to Alessandro's money. "Is there a problem?" "Actually, no. I'm calling to let you know that your rent's been paid through the end of the year." Anonymously, a cashier's check arrived yesterday. The phone nearly slipped from Maya's hand. "What? That's not. I didn't arrange that." "Well, someone did." The check cleared. "You're paid through December 31st. Her landlord actually sounded happy for her. "Must have a guardian angel looking out for you." Maya ended the call and immediately dialed Alessandro. He answered on the first ring. "Maya, is everything all right?" "My rent. For the next 2 months?" "You paid it." Silence. Then, carefully, "I wanted to help. Alessandro, we talked about this. I can't keep accepting—" "You're not accepting anything. Consider it payment for the time you spend with Marco. He's been seeing a therapist since the choking incident." "Do you know what she said?" Alessandro's voice was rough with emotion. "She said he's healing, making progress, opening up about his fears and his grief over his mother." "And do you know why?" Maya couldn't speak. "Because of Lily. Because of you. Because, for the first time since Elena died, he has something that feels like family. That's worth more than rent, Maya. It's worth everything. But I can't, please." One word, but it held so much weight. "Let me do this. Let me take care of you the way you've taken care of my son. Not because you owe me anything, not because I'm buying your affection, but because I can, and I want to. And it makes me feel like less of a failure as a father knowing that the woman who saved Marco isn't drowning in bills while I sit in a mansion." Maya closed her eyes. She should be angry, should refuse, should maintain some kind of boundary. But the truth was, the relief was overwhelming. 2 months without worrying about rent. 2 months where she could breathe, save money, maybe even sign Lily up for the art class at the community center she'd been asking about. "Okay," she whispered. But Alessandro, this is the last time. After this, no more money, please. After this, he agreed, but something in his tone suggested he was humoring her rather than promising. That night, after Lily was asleep, Maya sat on her couch with a glass of cheap wine and tried to figure out when her life had become so complicated. A month ago, she'd been surviving. Barely, but surviving. Working doubles, counting pennies, alone except for Lily and the grinding weight of responsibility. Now she had Alessandro calling every night, had Rosa sending her home with containers of leftover food, had Lily talking constantly about Marco and the mansion, and could they please move there because her room was so small, and Marco had a whole playroom. "We can't move there, baby," Maya had said gently. "That's Marco and his papa's house. We have our own home. But Marco says there's lots of rooms. And Papa is always smiling when you're there. And you smile too, Mommy. You don't smile as much at our apartment." The observation had hit Maya harder than it should have. Was she really that transparent? Could her 5-year-old daughter see what Maya was trying so hard to deny, that she was falling for Alessandro Valentini, and falling hard? Her phone buzzed. As if summoned by her thoughts, Alessandro's name appeared on the screen. "Are you awake?" Maya smiled despite herself. "Unfortunately, insomnia. Same. Marco had a nightmare. He's settled now, but I'm too wired to sleep. Can I call?" She should say no. Should establish boundaries. Should remember that this was temporary. That Alessandro's world was dangerous. That she was just a waitress who'd been in the right place at the right time. Instead, she typed, "Yes." He called immediately, his voice low and intimate in the darkness. "Thank you. I needed to hear your voice." "Bad nightmare?" He was choking again. Couldn't breathe. I was frozen, just like with Elena, just watching and unable to move. Alessandro's breath caught. "Then in the dream, you weren't there. No one saved him. He just stopped. But that's not what happened. I was there. He's safe. I know. But the fear doesn't care about logic. It just keeps playing the worst possibilities on repeat." He was quiet for a moment. "Do you want to know something I've never told anyone?" "Yes. When Elena was dying, in those last weeks, I used to lie awake at night planning how I'd kill myself after she was gone. Not because I didn't love Marco, I loved him desperately. But the pain was so enormous, and I couldn't imagine surviving it." His voice was barely a whisper now. "The only reason I didn't go through with it was because I realized Marco would grow up thinking both his parents had abandoned him, that he wasn't enough to make me stay." Tears slid down Maya's cheeks. "Alessandro, I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because I need you to understand what you've given me, hope. The first real hope I've felt in 3 years. When I watch you with Marco, when I see Lily's joy, when we sit together and talk about ordinary things, I remember what it feels like to be alive instead of just surviving. I feel the same way," Maya admitted. "I didn't realize how lonely I was until I wasn't anymore. Then why do we keep pretending this is just about the children?" The question hung in the darkness between them. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. "Because it's safer that way," she said finally. "Because your world is dangerous, and I have Lily to think about. Because I'm terrified that if I let myself feel what I'm starting to feel, and something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong." "You can't promise that." "No," Alessandro admitted. "But I can promise to do everything in my power to keep you and Lily safe. I can promise that whatever this is between us, it's real, it matters, and I'm tired of pretending it doesn't." Maya wiped her tears, her hand shaking. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want more than Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. I want you in my life, Maya. Properly, completely. I want to take you to dinner without it being a thank you. I want to kiss you without worrying I'm crossing a line. I want—" He stopped, and she heard him take a breath. "I want to see if this thing between us could be something lasting. Alessandro, I'm a waitress with a 5-year-old in student loan debt. You're a man who's been dead inside for 3 years until you ran into my life and pulled me out of the darkness." His voice was fierce now. "I don't care about money or status or any of that. I care about you, about the way you love your daughter with your whole heart, about your strength and your stubbornness, and the fact that you won't let me pay for things even though you're drowning, about how you see Marco as a child who needs help, not a meal ticket. I care about you too, Maya interrupted, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. I care so much it terrifies me. But Alessandro, your enemies, Victor, the danger, is handled. Or, nearly handled. Alessandro's tone shifted, became businesslike. Victor's boss, Mikhail Volkov, was arrested 2 days ago. Federal charges. Money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. He'll be in prison for the next 20 years. Maya sat up straight. What? How? I gave the FBI everything they needed. Financial records, wire transfers, testimony from people he'd wronged. I've been working on it since the day you saved Marco. Alessandro's voice was grim. I told you I'd eliminate the threat. I meant it. Volkov is finished, and his organization is in shambles. Victor fled the country last week. You're safe, Maya. Truly safe. The relief was dizzying. Why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to be certain. Because I wouldn't give you hope until I could guarantee your safety. He paused. And because I was afraid that once the danger was gone, you'd have no reason to let me stay in your life. Alessandro, I know that sounds manipulative. I know keeping information from you breaks the promise I made about honesty. But Maya, I was terrified of losing you. Of losing this. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. Maya's emotions were a tangled mess. Anger at the deception, relief at the safety, joy at his admission, fear at how much she wanted this. You should have trusted me. I know. I'm not fragile. I can handle the truth. I know that too. I'm sorry, Maya. Truly. She let the silence stretch, making him wait, making him understand that trust went both ways. Then, quietly, when were you planning to tell me? Tomorrow. I was going to call you tomorrow and tell you everything, ask if I could take you to dinner, a real date, no children, no obligations, just us. Alessandro laughed softly, nervously. I had a whole speech planned about how I wanted to court you properly, earn your trust, prove that I could be more than just a dangerous man with a complicated past. Court me? Despite everything, Maya smiled. Who says court? Apparently, I do when I'm nervous and talking to a woman who makes me forget how to breathe. Maya's smile widened. She shouldn't forgive him this easily, should make him work harder for her trust. But the vulnerability in his voice, the raw honesty, the fact that he'd taken down a Russian crime boss to keep her safe. I'm free Saturday night, she said. Mrs. Chen can watch Lily. She could practically hear Alessandro's relief through the phone. Saturday night. I'll pick you up at 7. Wear something nice. I don't really have. Rosa is approximately your size, and she has excellent taste. She'd be insulted if you didn't let her help. Alessandro, I can't just borrow your housekeeper's clothes. Then consider it a gift. Please, Maya. Let me spoil you. Just this once. Let me show you what it could be like if you said yes to this. To us. Maya closed her eyes, feeling herself tipping over the edge she'd been clinging to for weeks. Okay, but Alessandro? No more secrets. No more keeping things from me to protect me. If we're doing this, we're partners, equals. That means honesty, even when it's hard. Partners? Alessandro repeated, testing the word. I like that. Partners, equals. No more secrets. He paused. Does this mean you're saying yes? To us? I'm saying yes to a date. To seeing where this goes. To giving you a chance to prove that Alessandro Valentini, reformed crime boss, can be the kind of man a struggling single mother can trust with her heart. I won't let you down. You better not. Because I don't give second chances, Alessandro. I can't afford to. They talked for another hour about nothing, important, favorite movies, childhood memories, the weird things their children said. Normal things, easy things. The kind of conversation that felt like coming home. When they finally said goodnight, Maya lay in the darkness of her bedroom, feeling something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Real, terrifying, exhilarating hope that maybe, just maybe, her life could be more than survival. That maybe saving a choking boy in a park had been the beginning of saving herself. Saturday arrived with the first real snowfall of the season. Maya spent the afternoon in a state of nervous energy, cleaning the apartment, helping Lily pack her overnight bag for Mrs. Chen's, trying on and rejecting every piece of clothing she owned. Rosa had arrived that morning with a garment bag and a knowing smile. Signore Alessandro said you might need help, she'd said, marching into Maya's bedroom like she owned the place. Let's see what we're working with. The dress Rosa brought was simple but elegant, deep burgundy silk that hugged Maya's curves, with a neckline that was sophisticated rather than revealing. Rosa had also brought shoes, jewelry, and a wrap for the cold. I can't accept all this, Maya protested weakly. Of course you can. Alessandro bought it all specifically for you. Rosa's eyes were warm. Let an old woman enjoy seeing him happy again. He's been alone too long. And that boy needs a mother who understands what it means to fight for the people you love. I'm not Marco's mother. Not yet, Rosa smiled. But you could be, if you're brave enough. Now, standing in front of her bathroom mirror in the borrowed dress, Maya barely recognized herself. The woman looking back wasn't a tired waitress in a stained uniform. She was someone elegant, someone worthy of Alessandro's attention, someone who looked like she could belong in his world. Mommy, you're so pretty, Lily gasped from the doorway. Maya turned, fighting sudden tears. Thank you, baby. Are you going to marry Marco's papa? What? No, we're just having dinner. But you like him, and he likes you, I can tell. Lily moved closer, her expression solemn. Is it okay if I like Marco? If I want to see him, even if you and his papa don't get married? Maya knelt carefully, mindful of the dress. Of course it's okay. Marco is your friend. No matter what happens between his papa and me, you and Marco can still be friends. I promise. Good. Lily hugged her. Because he's my best friend, and he told me his mama's in heaven, just like Grandma, so we understand each other. Maya held her daughter close, breathing in her strawberry shampoo scent, feeling the weight of responsibility and possibility. Whatever happened tonight, whatever this thing with Alessandro became, she couldn't let Lily get hurt, wouldn't let her daughter pay the price for Maya's hope. The buzzer sounded at exactly 7. Maya kissed Lily goodbye, grabbed the wrap Rosa had provided, and headed downstairs on shaking legs. Alessandro stood beside his town car, and when he saw her, he went completely still. Maya. He said her name like a prayer. He wore a charcoal suit that was probably worth more than her car. His dark hair swept back, his jaw clean-shaven. He looked devastating and dangerous, and so handsome it hurt to look at him. You look beautiful, Alessandro said, moving closer. Absolutely beautiful. Rosa has good taste. I have good taste. Rosa just has good connections with boutique owners. He smiled, offering his arm. Shall we? The restaurant was the kind of place Maya had only seen in movies' intimate lighting. Tables far enough apart for privacy. A wine list that required a sommelier. Alessandro had reserved a corner table, and as they settled in, Maya felt her nerves settle slightly. This was Alessandro, the man who read to both children in Italian, the man who called late at night just to hear her voice, the man who'd taken down a Russian crime boss to keep her safe. I'm nervous, Alessandro admitted after they'd ordered. I haven't done this in years. Dating, courtship. Elena and I got together when we were barely adults. We grew up together. This feels terrifying? Maya supplied. Yes, terrifying and exhilarating, and like I'm 16 again asking a girl to prom. Did you go to prom? No. I was running my father's restaurants by 16. Prom seemed frivolous. Alessandro's expression darkened. My father believed in teaching through immersion. Sink or swim. I swam. Tell me about him. Your father. Alessandro was quiet for a moment, considering. He was brilliant and ruthless. He loved his family, but he loved power more. He taught me that strength was the only currency that mattered. That fear was how you built an empire. He met Maya's eyes. It took Elena dying for me to realize he was wrong. Strength without compassion is just cruelty. Fear without love is just tyranny. Is that why you're changing things? Going legitimate? Partly. But mostly, it's for Marco. I want him to inherit a legacy he can be proud of. I want him to grow up knowing his father built something good, not just powerful. Alessandro reached across the table, taking her hand. And I want him to know it's possible to choose a different path, to break cycles, to be better than the generation before. Maya laced her fingers through his. You're already doing that. Marco adores you. He feels safe with you. Loved. Because of you. You showed me what that looks like, loving without conditions, protecting without smothering, being strong enough to be gentle. Alessandro brought her hand to his lips, kissing her knuckles. You've changed everything, Maya. I need you to know that. The evening unfolded like a dream. They ate courses Maya couldn't have pronounced, drank wine that probably cost more than her weekly paycheck, and talked about everything, their fears, their hopes, their dreams for their children. Alessandro told her about Elena, about their early love and her final months. Maya told him about Jason's abandonment, about the shame and anger and determination to prove she could do it alone. You don't have to be alone anymore, Alessandro said quietly. If you don't want to be, what are you offering exactly? Maya needed to understand. A relationship, a partnership, something permanent, all of it, whatever you'll accept, whatever you need. Alessandro leaned forward, his eyes intense. Maya, I'm not a patient man. I'm used to seeing what I want and taking it. But with you, I'm trying to be different, to be worthy of you. So I'm asking instead of demanding, will you let me be part of your life? Truly part of it? Will you consider a future where it's not just you and Lily, or me and Marco, but all of us together? Maya's heart raced. That's moving fast. I'm 40 years old. I've already lost one person I loved to time I wasted. I don't want to waste another moment. Alessandro's voice was raw. But I understand if you need time, if you need to be sure. I'll wait, Maya, as long as you need. She thought of Lily's joy when they visited the mansion, of Marco's face lighting up when they arrived, of the way Alessandro looked at her like she hung the moon, of the feeling of safety and possibility that had been absent from her life for so long. I don't need time to know what I feel, Maya said slowly. I need time to figure out how this works. The logistics. Lily's school, my job, your security concerns. I need to know we're not just caught up in gratitude and loneliness, that this is real. It's real, Alessandro said fiercely. But I understand. We'll take it slow, figure it out together. He smiled slightly. Though I should warn you, my version of slow might still be faster than most people's. Maya laughed, the tension breaking. I'm noticing that. They lingered over dessert, neither wanting the evening to end. But eventually, Alessandro paid the check, refusing to even let Maya see the total, and they headed back to his car. I should get home, Maya said as they pulled up to her building. Mrs. Chen will charge me extra if I'm too late. I'll pay her whatever. Alessandro stopped at Maya's look. Right. No more throwing money at things. Partners. Equals. I'm learning. Maya smiled. You're learning. She reached for the door handle, then paused. Alessandro, thank you. For tonight. For everything. For being patient with me when I'm difficult about accepting help. You're not difficult. You're independent. Strong. It's one of the things He stopped, seeming to catch himself. One of the things you what? Alessandro looked at her in the dim light of the car, his expression vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. One of the things I love about you. The word hung between them, weighted with promise and danger. Love. He'd said love. I'm not asking you to say it back, Alessandro continued quickly. I know it's too soon. I just need you to know. What I feel for you, Maya, it's not gratitude or loneliness or some kind of savior complex. It's love, real, terrifying, don't know how to survive without you love. Maya's eyes filled with tears. She should be cautious, should protect herself, should remember all the reasons this was complicated and dangerous and too fast. Instead, she leaned across the seat and kissed him. Alessandro made a sound of surprise, then pulled her closer, one hand cupping her face while the other tangled in her hair. The kiss was gentle at first, almost tentative, then deepened into something that felt like coming home and catching fire all at once. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Maya whispered, I think I might love you too, and that terrifies me more than anything. Good terrified or bad terrified, both. Maya touched his face, feeling the slight stubble on his jaw. But mostly good, mostly hopeful. Alessandro kissed her again, softer this time. Hope is good. Hope is what keeps us alive. They sat in the car for another hour, kissing and talking and holding each other like teenagers afraid to say goodnight. Finally, reluctantly, Maya forced herself to pull away. I really do need to get inside. I know, but Alessandro didn't release her immediately. Tomorrow? Can I see you tomorrow? I have a shift in the morning, but afternoon? We could take the kids to the park. The park where we met? Alessandro smiled. Full circle. Full circle. Maya agreed. He walked her to her door, kissed her one more time on the threshold, and waited until she was safely inside before heading back to his car. Maya leaned against her closed door, touching her lips, feeling the ghost of his kiss, and wondered when she'd become the kind of woman who fell for dangerous men with complicated pasts. But as she looked around her small apartment paid through December, stocked with food, warm and safe, she realized Alessandro had never felt dangerous to her. Intense, yes. Overwhelming, certainly. But not dangerous. He felt like safety, like home, like everything she'd been fighting for suddenly becoming possible. Maya went to collect Lily from Mrs. Chen's, her heart full of hope and fear in equal measure. Whatever came next, whatever challenges they'd face, at least they'd face them together. At least she wouldn't be alone anymore. Sunday afternoon found them back at Patterson Park, the same place where everything had started 5 weeks earlier. Snow covered the ground in a pristine blanket, and Marco and Lily immediately launched into a snowball fight while Maya and Alessandro watched from a bench. "It's strange being back here," Maya said, tucking closer to Alessandro's side. He draped his coat over her shoulders despite her protests, and his arm around her waist felt solid and right. "Strange how?" "That day, I was just trying to survive. Get through my shift, pick up Lily, make dinner with whatever was in the fridge. And then I saw Marco choking, and everything changed." Maya looked up at him. "Do you believe in fate? I believe in you being exactly where you needed to be when my son needed you most." Alessandro pulled her closer. "Whether that's fate or coincidence or divine intervention, I don't care. I'm just grateful." Marco's laugh echoed across the park as Lily landed a perfect snowball hit on his shoulder. Both children were flushed with cold and joy, their earlier shyness completely gone. They looked like siblings, Maya thought. Like family. "Marco asked me this morning if you were going to be his new mama," Alessandro said quietly. Maya's heart skipped. "What did you tell him?" "That I hoped so. Someday. If you wanted that." Alessandro turned to face her fully. "I know we're taking things slow. I know there's logistics to figure out. But Maya, I want you to know what my end goal is. What I'm hoping for. Tell me. I want to marry you. I want to combine our families officially. I want Lily to legally be Marco's sister, and for you to be my wife and partner in everything." Alessandro's voice was steady, certain. "I want to wake up next to you every morning and fall asleep beside you every night. I want to help Lily with homework and teach her Italian and walk her down the aisle someday. I want more children if you want them, or just be grateful for the 2 we have if you don't. I want everything, Maya. The whole messy, complicated, beautiful future." Maya's eyes filled with tears. "That's a pretty clear end goal. Is it too much? Too fast? Maybe." Maya smiled through her tears. "But it's also everything I didn't know I wanted until you said it. Everything I was afraid to hope for. Then hope for it. Please, let yourself imagine it. Let yourself believe it's possible." Before Maya could respond, Lily called out, "Mommy! Marco and I built a snow fort. Come see." They walked over together. Alessandro's hand warm in Maya's, and admired the lopsided structure the children had created. Marco was already planning improvements, his engineering mind evident even at 6. "If we had more snow, we could make it bigger," Marco said seriously. "With towers and everything. Right, Papa?" "Absolutely. Next snowfall, we'll build a proper fortress." Alessandro ruffled his son's hair. "But right now, I think it's time for hot chocolate. What do you say?" The children cheered, and they headed to a nearby cafe. Not fancy, just a neighborhood place with steamed windows and the smell of cinnamon. They squeezed into a booth, children on one side, adults on the other, and ordered drinks and cookies. "This is nice," Lily said suddenly, looking around the table. "It feels like family." The words hit Maya straight in the heart. She glanced at Alessandro, saw the same emotion reflected in his eyes. "It does feel like family," Marco agreed. "Can we do this every Sunday? Family hot chocolate? I think that's an excellent tradition," Alessandro said, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. "What do you think, Maya? Sunday hot chocolate? As a family?" The question held more weight than the children understood. This wasn't just about drinks and cookies. It was about committing, about making them an us, about taking the leap from Casual dating to building something permanent. Maya looked at her daughter's hopeful face, at Marco's excited expression, at Alessandro's eyes full of love and promise. She thought about the past month, the safety, the laughter, the feeling of not being alone anymore. The way Alessandro had changed from a grateful stranger into someone essential, someone she couldn't imagine life without. "Yes," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Sunday hot chocolate. As a family." Lily squealed and clapped. Marco did a victory dance in his seat that almost knocked over his mug, and Alessandro reached under the table to squeeze Maya's hand, his smile brighter than the sun reflecting off the snow. They stayed in that cafe for hours, playing tic-tac-toe on napkins and telling stories and being ordinary in a way that felt extraordinary. When they finally headed back to Alessandro's car, both children were yawning, full of sugar and contentment. "Come home with me," Alessandro said, as they buckled the kids into their car seats. "Not for anything except being together. We'll put on a movie, the kids will fall asleep, and we can talk. Plan, figure out what comes next. Maya should go home, should maintain some independence, should remember that this was all moving very fast and she needed time to process." But Lily was already asleep against Marco, and the thought of their cold apartment versus Alessandro's warm mansion, of being alone versus being family, there was no real choice. "Okay," she said. "But I need to be back early tomorrow. I have the breakfast shift. I'll set my alarm," Alessandro promised. The drive to the mansion felt different this time. Not like visiting, like going home. 3 months later, Maya stood in Alessandro's bedroom, their bedroom now, watching snow fall over the gardens. The room that had once belonged only to him now held her things, her books on the nightstand, her robe on the hook, her photograph of Lily as a baby beside, Marco's baby picture on the dresser. She'd moved in 6 weeks ago. Not because Alessandro had pushed, but because it had stopped making sense to maintain 2 households when they spent every night together anyway. Lily had her own room now, princess-themed, because Alessandro spoiled her relentlessly right next to Marco's. The children had adjusted faster than anyone expected, calling themselves brother and sister without hesitation. "Mama?" Lily had started calling her that last month, and it still made Maya's heart clench. "Are you coming? Papa says breakfast is ready." Papa, not Marco's papa anymore. Just Papa. Like it had always been that way. Maya turned from the window, smiling at her daughter, their daughter now, officially, as of last week, when Alessandro's lawyers had finalized the adoption papers that made Lily a Valentini. "I'm coming, baby." Downstairs, the breakfast room was chaos in the best way. Marco was showing Rosa something on his tablet, talking rapid Italian that Maya was slowly learning to understand. Alessandro stood at the stove. He'd discovered a passion for cooking breakfast on weekends, flipping pancakes while humming off-key. He looked up when Maya entered, and his whole face transformed. 3 months, and he still looked at her like she was a miracle. "Good morning, amore mio." "Good morning." Maya slipped into his arms, right where she belonged. "You're making the dinosaur pancakes?" Marco requested them. "And what Marco wants on his birthday." Alessandro kissed her forehead. "How are you feeling? Any nausea?" Maya touched her still flat stomach, marveling at the life growing inside. They'd found out 2 weeks ago a surprise, but a welcome one. Another child to love, another piece of the family they were building. "I'm fine. Better than fine." She looked around at the controlled chaos, children laughing, Rosa fussing, the smell of pancakes and coffee filling the air. "I'm happy. Good." Alessandro turned, back to his cooking, but not before Maya caught the sheen in his eyes. He cried easier now. Let himself feel things instead of maintaining that iron control. She'd done that for him, he said. Made him human again. Breakfast was loud and messy and perfect. Marco opened presents too many, because Alessandro couldn't help himself and Lily helped him, their bond obvious in every shared glance and inside joke. They were planning Marco's birthday party for that afternoon, and the house would soon fill with children from his school, their parents, extended family. A year ago, Maya had been alone, drowning in bills, exhausted from double shifts, terrified that one more thing would break her completely. Now she lived in a mansion with a man who loved her, children who called her mama, and a future that stretched bright and endless. "What are you thinking about?" Alessandro asked later, after the breakfast dishes were cleared, and the children were upstairs getting ready for the party. How? One moment changed everything. How I almost didn't stop that day. Almost kept driving. But you did stop. Alessandro pulled her close, his hand resting on her stomach where their baby grew. You stopped, and you saved Marco, and you saved me. You saved all of us. You saved me too, Maya said. Gave me a family, a home, a future I never thought possible. We saved each other. Alessandro kissed her, soft and sweet. That's what love does. It saves you when you didn't even know you needed saving. The doorbell rang, the first party guests arriving. Marco thundered down the stairs with Lily close behind, both shrieking with excitement. Rosa appeared to manage the chaos, and Alessandro's extended family started filling the house with noise and warmth. Maya moved through the party in a daze of happiness. She caught glimpses of her new life reflected in every moment. Alessandro's uncle teaching both children card tricks in Italian. Rosa showing a group of mothers the garden, where Maya and Alessandro had shared their first real conversation. Lily and Marco presenting a united front when another child tried to exclude someone from a game. They're good kids, Dennis said, appearing at Maya's elbow. She'd invited him on a whim, surprised when he'd actually shown up. You did good, Maya. We all did. Maya watched Alessandro lift Marco onto his shoulders for a better view of the birthday cake Rosa was wheeling in. Sometimes family isn't what you're born into, it's what you build. Wise words from someone who used to burn the coffee at my diner. Dennis smiled. For the record, I'm glad you quit. You were meant for better things than slinging hash for minimum wage. Maya had given notice a month ago, finally pursuing her degree full-time with Alessandro's support. She'd finish in another year, and then maybe teaching, maybe social work, maybe something she hadn't even thought of yet. The point was, she had options now. She had time to figure it out. The party wound down as the sun set, painting the snow-covered gardens in shades of pink and gold. The last guests left, and Rosa shepherded both exhausted children upstairs for baths. Alessandro and Maya collapsed on the couch in the library, his arm around her shoulders, her head on his chest. Happy birthday to Marco, Maya said. Happy everything to us. Alessandro kissed the top of her head. I have something for you. It's not my birthday. Doesn't matter. He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Maya's breath caught. Alessandro, I know we're already together, living together, building a life together, but I want to make it official. He opened the box to reveal a ring emerald-cut diamond, simple and elegant. Marry me, Maya. Let me be your husband officially. Let's give our children the family they deserve. Let's make permanent what's already written on our hearts. Maya's eyes filled with tears. You're sure? This is what you want? I've never been more sure of anything. Alessandro's voice was steady, certain. You're it for me, Maya. My last first kiss. My forever. My home. Yes. The word came out as a whisper, then stronger. Yes, I'll marry you. He slid the ring onto her finger, and it fit perfectly, of course it did, because Alessandro was thorough and planned everything. Then he kissed her, and Maya tasted salt from tears she didn't realize were falling. When? She asked when they finally pulled apart. Whenever you want. Tomorrow. Next year. I don't care, as long as I get to call you my wife. Spring, Maya decided. When the gardens are blooming. Something small, just family. Small and family. I can do that. Alessandro pulled her closer. Though fair warning, my family is large and loud. I noticed. Maya laughed. I love them. I love all of this. I love you. I love you more. Alessandro's hand found her stomach again. Both of you. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the fire crackle, listening to the distant sounds of children getting ready for bed upstairs. This was home, Maya thought. Not the mansion or the money or the security. This feeling safe, loved, belonging. This was what home really meant. Mama? Papa? Lily appeared in the doorway in her pajamas, Marco beside her. Can we all watch a movie together, please? Of course. Alessandro stood, offering Maya his hand. What are we watching? Something with dinosaurs, Marco said immediately. Something with princesses, Lily countered. They settled on an animated movie that had all four of them piling onto the massive couch under blankets. The children sat between them, but Alessandro's hand found Maya's, their fingers interlacing while the movie played. Halfway through, Both kids fell asleep. Alessandro carried Marco upstairs while Maya managed Lily, and they tucked their children in, kissing foreheads and whispering love. "This is everything," Maya said later, standing in the doorway of what would eventually be the new baby's room. Alessandro came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "This is just the beginning," he corrected. "We have a whole lifetime ahead of us. Weddings and babies and school plays and terrible teenage years and grandchildren someday." Maya turned in his arms. "You've really thought about this. Every single day since you saved my son and changed my life." Alessandro smiled, that rare, genuine expression that transformed his whole face. "Thank you, Maya, for stopping that day, for being brave, for giving me a second chance at happiness. Thank you for knocking on my door, for not giving up on me even when I was difficult about accepting help." Maya kissed him softly. "For showing me that family isn't just blood. It's choice, it's commitment, it's love." They stood together in the quiet house, their children sleeping safely, their future stretching bright ahead. Outside, snow continued to fall, blanketing the world in white. Inside, the fire burned warm. The house settled into comfortable silence, and two people who'd been alone found themselves completely, perfectly home. Maya thought back to that October afternoon, exhausted from work, worried about money, just trying to survive another day. She'd seen a child choking and hadn't hesitated, had run toward danger because it was the right thing to do. She hadn't known that saving Marco would save her too, that the dangerous man who'd appeared hours later would become her salvation, that the life she'd been barely surviving would transform into something beyond her wildest dreams. "What are you thinking?" Alessandro murmured against her hair. "That I'd do it all again. Every hard moment, every scared decision, every leap of faith. I'd do it all again if it led me here. To you. To us. Me too." Alessandro held her tighter. Every single moment. They walked back to their bedroom hand in hand, closing the door on another perfect day and opening it to a future full of possibility. A future they'd build together, one day at a time, one choice at a time, one act of love at a time. Because that's what family did. What real love did. It saved you when you didn't know you needed saving. It built homes from broken pieces. It turned strangers into soulmates and lonely people into beloved. Maya Torres had saved a choking boy in a park, and Alessandro Valentini had saved her right back. The fire burned low, the house settled into sleep, and outside the window, the city lights glowed like stars brought down to earth. Home. Finally, completely, forever home. The June sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of what had once been Alessandro's study and was now their shared office. Maya sat at their desk, she reminded herself, still getting used to the casual plural reviewing applications for the scholarship fund they'd established 6 months ago. The Torres Valentini Foundation, her name, legally changed after their spring wedding, paired with his. A foundation dedicated to helping single parents finish their education, because Maya remembered what it felt like to choose between tuition and groceries, between dreams and survival. "Mama, come quick!" Lily's voice echoed through the mansion, urgent but excited rather than scared. Maya stood, one hand instinctively going to her rounded belly. 7 months pregnant, and she still wasn't used to the miracle of it this planned. Wanted child, conceived in love rather than accident, carried without the terror of doing it alone. She found Lily and Marco in the music room, clustered around the grand piano that had sat silent for years, until Maya had mentioned, casually, that she'd taken lessons as a child. Alessandro had hired a teacher the next day. Now Marco was pointing excitedly at the sheet music. "Look, I can play the whole song without mistakes." "Show me," Maya said, settling carefully onto the bench beside him. Marco's small fingers found the keys, and he played a simple melody, "Twinkle, Twinkle Little Star," in careful, deliberate notes. Lily sang along, her voice sweet and slightly off-key, and Maya felt her eyes sting with tears. Pregnancy hormones, she told herself. But it was more than that. It was the casual beauty of this moment, the ordinary magic of children learning and growing in a house full of love. "That was perfect, sweetheart," Maya said when Marco finished with a flourish. "You've been practicing. Every day, just like you said." Marco beamed. "Papa says discipline is important, but also passion. You have to love what you're doing, or it's just work." Alessandro's voice came from the doorway. "Did someone summon me with flattery?" "Papa." Both children ran to him, and he caught them easily, one in each arm despite the expensive suit he wore. He'd been at the office, the legitimate office, where Valentini Enterprises now operated entirely above board. The transition had taken 2 years and cost millions. Former associates had grumbled, a few had turned hostile, and there'd been threats that required careful management. But Alessandro had been relentless, buying out anyone who wouldn't go legitimate, turning evidence over to federal authorities when necessary, using every legal tool at his disposal to transform his father's empire into something his children could be proud of. "How was your day?" Maya asked as Alessandro set the children down and moved to kiss her first her lips, then her belly, where their daughter kicked in response to her father's touch. "Productive. The Chicago development is ahead of schedule. The city council approved our proposal for affordable housing units." Alessandro's hand lingered on her stomach. "And she's active today. She's been dancing since lunch." Maya smiled. "I think she likes music." Marco was playing piano. "I heard. Beautifully done. Figlio mio." Alessandro ruffled Marco's hair. "Keep practicing, and maybe you'll play at your sister's christening." "Really? You promise?" Marco's eyes went wide. "If you want to. No pressure. Music should be joy, not obligation." Alessandro had learned that lesson the hard way, and he was determined his children would have the freedom he'd never known. Rosa appeared in the doorway, her expression fond but exasperated. "Dinner in 30 minutes. And before you ask, yes, Signora Maya, I made the pasta you've been craving. With extra cheese, as if you needed it." "I'm eating for 2, Maya protested. "You're eating for a small army," Rosa countered, but she was smiling. "Go wash up, children. And you too," she pointed at Alessandro and Maya. "Try to look less disgustingly happy at dinner. Some of us are still single." After she left, Alessandro pulled Maya close, careful of her belly. "Are we disgustingly happy?" "Absolutely." Maya wound her arms around his neck. "Revoltingly so. Should we tone it down?" "Never." Alessandro kissed her, slow and sweet. "I spent too many years pretending I wasn't dying inside. Now that I'm alive again, I'm not hiding it." They stood like that for a moment, wrapped in each other, before duty called them back. Washing children's hands, settling everyone at the dinner table, the comfortable chaos of family life. Dennis was there. He'd become a regular fixture, a surrogate grandfather figure who'd sold his diner and now volunteered with their foundation. Mrs. Chen came too, having somehow become Rosa's best friend despite their language barrier and 20-year age gap. "To family," Alessandro said, raising his glass once everyone was seated. "Blood and chosen, born and built. To everyone at this table who makes our house a home." "To family," they echoed, glasses clinking. Maya looked around the table at Lily chattering with Mrs. Chen, at Marco, explaining something complex to Dennis with serious hand gestures, at Rosa bringing out more food despite everyone's protests, at Alessandro watching over all of them with prosody, fierce, protective love. This was everything she'd never known to wish for, everything she'd thought impossible when she was 23 and alone and terrified. When she'd been running on empty, choosing between bills, wondering how she'd survive another month. That woman seemed like a stranger now, someone Maya barely recognized. After dinner, after the children were bathed and storied and tucked into bed, Maya found Alessandro on the terrace overlooking the gardens. The June evening was perfect, warm but not hot, with fireflies beginning to dance in the dimming light. "I got a call today," Maya said, joining him at the railing. "From the university." Alessandro turned immediately, alert. "About your thesis? They want to publish it. In the Journal of Social Work Education." Maya still couldn't quite believe it. Her thesis on supporting single parents through higher education, informed by her own experience and the Foundation's work, was good enough to publish. "Maya, that's incredible." Alessandro pulled her into his arms. "I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you." "The time to focus, the resources, you could have," Alessandro interrupted firmly. "Maybe it would have taken longer, maybe it would have been harder. But you would have found a way. That's who you are. That's who you've always been." Maya let herself believe it. Let herself own the pride of her accomplishment instead of deflecting. "I'm thinking about doctoral programs. After the baby's a bit older, maybe teaching eventually. Whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy." Alessandro's hand found her stomach again, their daughter responding with a strong kick. We'll make it work. We. Maya loved that word. Loved having a partner who shared the load instead of adding to it. Remember when I told you I don't give second chances? I remember being terrified I'd already blown my first chance. Alessandro smiled. You were very firm about boundaries. I was scared. Of you, of what you represented, of how much I wanted what you were offering. Maya turned to face him fully. But Alessandro, you've earned 1,000 chances. 1,000 second chances, third chances, chances I didn't even know existed. You've proven every day that I can trust you, that we're partners, that you see me as an equal even though nothing, Alessandro interrupted. You are my equal, in every way that matters. You're stronger than I'll ever be, braver, kinder. I'm the one constantly trying to deserve you. Then we're even. Both of us trying to deserve each other. Both of us working at this. Maya kissed him softly. That's what makes it real. They stood together as the last light faded and stars began to appear. The city glowed in the distance, but here, behind gates and walls that protected rather than imprisoned, they'd built something private and precious. Do you ever think about that day? Alessandro asked quietly. In the park? Every day. How I almost didn't stop. How I was so tired and stressed that I almost just kept driving. Maya shuddered. If I had, but you didn't. You stopped. You acted. You saved us all. Alessandro tilted her face up. That's the only version that matters. The one where you were exactly who you are, brave and compassionate and unwilling to walk past someone who needed help. And you, Maya said. You could have just said thank you and never contacted me again. Could have kept your dangerous world separate from the woman who helped your son. Impossible. From the moment I saw you holding Marco, covered in dirt and completely fearless, I was lost. I just didn't know it yet. Alessandro smiled. You ruined me for anyone else. Made me remember what it felt like to hope. Inside, they heard one of the children cry out, probably Marco, who still had nightmares sometimes about choking, about not being able to breathe. Alessandro moved immediately, but Maya caught his hand. I'll go. You did bedtime. My turn for nightmares. She found Marco sitting up in bed, tears streaming down his face. But when he saw her, he reached out, and Maya sat carefully on the edge of his bed, pulling him into her arms. Same dream? She asked gently. Marco nodded against her shoulder. I couldn't breathe, and you weren't there. Nobody was there. But that's not real, sweetheart. That's not what happened. Maya stroked his hair. I was there. I helped you. You're safe now. Promise you won't leave? Promise you'll always be my mama? The vulnerability in his voice broke her heart. I promise. Forever and always. You're stuck with me now. Maya kissed his forehead. And your papa, and Lily, and soon your baby sister. We're family, Marco. Real family. The kind that doesn't leave. Even when I'm bad? Especially when you're bad. That's what family means. We love you no matter what. On good days and bad days and boring days and exciting days. Always. Marco relaxed. Gradually, his breathing evening out. Sing the Italian song? The one Papa taught you? Maya's Italian was still imperfect, but she sang the lullaby Alessandro had taught her, the same one his mother had sung to him, that he'd sung to Marco as a baby. Her accent was probably terrible, but Marco didn't care. He just needed the comfort of familiar words, of being loved enough to be sung to. When she was sure he was asleep, Maya returned to the terrace where Alessandro waited. He okay? He will be. Just needed reassurance. Maya settled back into Alessandro's arms. He asked me to promise I wouldn't leave, that I'd always be his mama. And you said? Forever and always. The truth. Maya looked up at the stars. I never thought I'd have this. A son who calls me mama. A daughter who I didn't have to raise alone. A husband who's actually a partner. A home that feels safe instead of temporary. I never thought I'd feel alive again after Elena died, Alessandro admitted. I thought that was it. One great love, one chance at happiness, and then just existing for Marco's sake, surviving instead of living. And now? Now I'm living, really living. Loving you, building this life with you, watching our family grow. Alessandro's voice was thick with emotion. You did that, Maya. You brought me back to life. We did it together, Maya corrected. We saved each other. They stayed on the terrace until the night grew cold, talking about everything and nothing, about the baby's nursery that still needed painting, about Marco's upcoming piano recital, about Lily starting first grade in the fall, about the foundation's expansion plans, about ordinary, beautiful things that meant they were alive and together and building something lasting. Finally, reluctantly, they headed inside. Checked on sleeping children one last time, Marco, peaceful now. Lily sprawled like a starfish, both safe and loved. Then they went to their own room, to their own bed, to the life they'd chosen and fought for and built from the ashes of their separate lonelinesses. I love you, Alessandro whispered in the darkness, his hand protective on Maya's belly where their daughter slept. I love you too, Maya answered. Thank you for knocking on my door, for not giving up, for choosing hope. Thank you for stopping that day, for being brave, for saving all of us. They fell asleep wrapped around each other, their daughter moving gently between them. And somewhere in the house, the clock struck midnight on another perfect day. Maya Torres had stopped to help a choking child in a park. Alessandro Valentini had refused to let her disappear from his life. And together, they'd built something neither could have created alone, a family forged in crisis and strengthened by choice, held together not by obligation but by love. Real, messy, complicated, beautiful love, the kind worth fighting for, the kind worth everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.